Elsie Jensen here. Today we are going to make some fried chicken sandwiches on homemade brioche buns, some home fries. We're going to make a salad with some homemade ranch dressing so we can also have it for our chicken. And we're going to make or prep up some chocolate chip cookie doughs to cook up later because, my chocolate chip cookies, I like my dough to sit and chill so that they bake up perfectly. So let's start. I have my buns. They've been proofing in the oven and they're quite voluptuous here. Look at these guys. These are my homemade brioche buns. So I'm going to just pull this off. And then we're going to brush them with a little bit of an egg wash and we're going to bake these guys up. They're, slight sweetness to them because they've got about a 1/4 cup of sugar in them, made with milk, butter, yeast, flour, salt. And that is it. We are going to brush them with a little bit of egg wash and water. Just mix this together, whip it up. And that's going to give these buns that really pretty, lovely shine to them that, brioche has. Get this mixed up there. There we go. And then we'll sprinkle some sesame seeds over the top just to make it a little bougie. Let's get a little brush here. Now, when you're doing this, you want to make sure you brush them all over because if you miss a spot, you will know because it won't be shiny. These are so good and they're not difficult to make, but they do require a lot of proofing time. You proof them for about an hour during the first rise, and then you proof them again for about 30 to 45 minutes the second time. And that's because with hamburger buns or any type of, bun that you're going to use for like a sandwich, you need it to be really light and fluffy. You don't want it to be dense because you want it to be spongy. You don't want it to take up too much space because you want the middle to kind of shine, whatever you're putting in between it. So today we have our like chicken cutlets going in there. And so it needs to have a lot of proofing time to get really fluffy. And you also start with a pretty, like slightly tacky dough here. So there's only 3 cups of flour in this dough for all of this, which isn't a whole lot. And there's kind of a little bit of a trick that you use when you're doing it is, so when I mix it up, because I used dented it a little bit. That's okay. You're going to start with it. You kind of make a really sticky dough to begin with. And then when I'm kneading in that last 1/2 cup of flour, I'm slowly adding it at the counter at a time so that it doesn't stick to it. And that just helps it work together so you can get your like 10 minutes of kneading to make sure that it has that good elasticity to it, but also doesn't stick. And I was like, you can always do it in a mixer with a dough hook, but I just always love hand kneading. I just think it's fun. There we go. Let's get this all on there. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Okay. Keep poking that one. We'll make that Jackie's. And then let's go over with a little bit of sesame seeds because, you need a little sesame seeds on here. I said, just a little pop of color of deliciousness. There we go. Let's go pop these in the oven. My oven is set to 350 degrees, and we're going to bake these for like 20 to 22 minutes. They don't take a whole lot of time to cook, but you need like a good amount of time, for that to kind of set up and bake for it. You're going to want to do them on the top. And then the biggest thing is you need to let them sit and cool before you cut into them. So 350, I'm going to start it for 20 minutes and then we'll check to see, you know what, I'm going to actually do 18 minutes because I want to rotate. And then we'll see if we need a bit more time afterwards because I know my back oven loves to cook the back more and I want to make sure I get it nice, evenly cooked on every side. While those are cooking up, let's get our home fries ready and prepped on there because we'll start them in at 350. And then what we'll do is once we take those out, we will turn up our air fryer and crisp them up at the very end. So I've got 3 jumbo russet potatoes here, and we're going to make these into some yummy home fries. This one, I don't even know where to start with because this is not a potato shape. So I'm going to cut off a little bit of the skins because, as I said, my kids aren't a huge fan of the skins on their potato. But I'm not going to do a full peel on it because that's too much work. And they're fine with some skins. It's just you don't want to have, they're not like the give me a potato wedge type of kids. They're just a little tip. And I'm going to do actual kind of potato slices, although, we're doing fried chicken sandwiches. And one of these days I'll break out my mandolin. I have it. I never use it, ever use it. And not a mandolin like a musical instrument because I have no musical talent whatsoever. But it's a cooking thing. And it does make waffle fries, but I never, ever use it again. Let's see. Nub. We've got plenty over here. Let's slice these guys. And then we're going to season them up. I'm just going to do like kind of like a steak fry for these. Okay. Cut that off. I'm cutting a little bit of this guy and even it out. And here we go. Get those kind of edges off, and then just a little bit easier when you've got a kind of a square to work with here. It's been kind of a crazy couple days in our house. Teddy had his surgery yesterday and he was a champ. He did great. He was a little emotional coming out of it, but perked up by the very, very end of the day yesterday and has been doing wonderful today. He's really cute now because he's missing his 2 front teeth, but he's really, really cute. Poor guy, like back in December, he fell and hit his teeth on we have like this little wooden step. And the teeth, when you hit your teeth, sometimes they can die and they rot. And so one of them died and the other one got like an infection. So we needed to go in and have them extracted because they just weren't falling out on their own. So he had to have those extracted, and then he had a little bit of other stuff done while he was in there. But he's a champ and he's really proud of his teeth. He keeps saying he's a beaver. And I was like, no, you're not a beaver because beavers have 2 big front teeth and you're more like a vampire now. And he's like, are you sure? I think I'm a beaver. And I'm like, whatever you want to be, buddy. You can be whatever you want to be. But he's really cute. This summer I'm going to have to be cutting the corn off of his cob, I think, because there's no way he's going to be able to eat it. But he's doing really, really great. He actually, is as much better than his tonsils and adenoid surgery recovery because that was a rough one. And I was really, really worried because that one was such a rough recovery. But he was running around happy, crazy today. We had lots of soccer games and stuff like that, and you would never have known. But he's doing so good. And he got, his little surgery special present. He got a woolly mammoth. He's really into ancient animals right now. So we found, I think it's Schleich has those are like the nice little play toys. They had a woolly mammoth and he doesn't have that animal yet. So we got him that as his little present and he was very, very excited about it. And he also got a bison. And he told me, he goes, but that's not an ancient animal. And I'm like, I know, but remember last year when we went to North or South Dakota and we saw them there? And he goes, but it's still not an ancient animal. And I'm like, I know it's not an ancient animal, but they lived a long time ago too. Almost went extinct. Okay, let's get our home fries going here. Paula said chicken. Well, thank you, Paula. We appreciate that. We're going to give them a nice drizzle of olive oil here. And probably about 1 to 2 tablespoons. We want enough to coat every single one, but they don't need to be glistening. We're going to put in about 1 to 2 tablespoons of flour because essentially we're going to make a nice little batter with that. And that should be good. Put this over here. And then we're going to do some seasoning salt or seasoned salt. I always call it seasoning salt, but it's seasoned salt. Deliciousness. A good shake over here. Do a little bit more. And then I'm going to add in some black pepper because I always feel like steak fries have a little kick to them. On there, and then some onion powder. And we'll give these a good mix up. And we'll see how they look. Oops. And then we'll put them out on our baking sheet to kind of coat up or to crisp up in our oven. So again, we're going to start them off at the 350 underneath our brioche buns, and then we'll finish them off on the air fryer setting to crisp them up at the very end. Okay. These are looking good. I'm going to put them out, and then once I lay them out, I'm going to sprinkle them really lightly again with our Lowry seasoned salt to give that top layer a little extra pop of flavor. That was kind of one of my favorite parts. You know, some restaurants just have the really best steak fries. And get these guys. Now, a trick is you want to make sure when you're doing like an oven, like a home fry, is to make sure you don't just like throw them on. Make sure each one gets their own little spot on here because that bottom of that pan is going to crisp up the side. And I always say it's the bottom piece that gets the best part. Because that flour really crisps up with that oil and makes it almost feel like it's like a fried fry. I know that sounds funny, but it is just better that way. So try not to stack them because then it's soft where they're touching another fry instead of crispy. So I always try to use these really big baking sheets. That way I can keep everything on one row in my oven because, again, I try for the most part to have them face the top and be on the top one. Now I'm going to do these underneath, which will help kind of cook them through. But then that final with the air fryer will allow them to crisp up and get that nice little delicious crunch at the end.
Can you go over what they're coated with?
So right now we have them coated in olive oil, flour, Lowry seasoned salt, onion powder, and black pepper. So a nice kind of a savory, salty fry. And the onion and the Lowry seasoning salt just work really, really well together. And the flour gives you that battered fry, and that pepper is just going to give you that little bit of a kick that I find a lot of steak fries have. Okay, I'm going to try to get as much room between these as possible. Running out of space. Separate them. I don't want any like touching in together because even if it's a teeny tiny little microchasm in there, that's better than no space. There we go. Okay, I'm going to go wash my hands because they are messy. And I'm going to do a light sprinkle over with some more of our Lowry seasoned salt to really kind of crisp, get a little extra little bit of crunch on the top. Again, very light. So delicious. And then let's pop these in the oven to start kind of that crisping up. They're not going to get as much direct heat because they're going to have the sheet of the brioche under, but they'll start softening them up. So then when we do the air fry at the end, they'll kind of crisp up nicely. And we can take a sneak peek of our brioche buns as they're cooking. Looking gorgeous. Some of them are starting to kiss each other, but that's okay because buns stick together. And we're going to chop them and eat them. Okay, let's get our chicken going and frying. Then we'll work on our cookie dough. We've got our salad and all that jazz. Okay, I'm going to slide this out of the way for right now. We've got our chicken. We're going to make our seasoned dredge, and then we'll get these chicken ready to fry. I'm going to add in, since I have 4 chicken breasts, which we'll fillet in half to make 8, since I have 8 buns, we're going to do about 2 cups of flour. And the rest will go over here. And then, since we've got a good amount, we're going to do about, I want to say like a tablespoon of onion powder. Give it a nice kind of good savory flavor to this. And then we're going to do about, like a half a tablespoon of paprika. Give it a nice golden flavor, nice, also just a nice smoked flavor. I'm going to do about a teaspoon and a half of Italian seasoning. We're going to add in about a teaspoon of oregano. And you want to make sure you season it up well because you want to have these great flavors go throughout. We're going to do about a teaspoon of black pepper.
Do you have a question? Regular or smoked?
I grabbed regular, but smoked works well. So smoked will give you more smoky one. Regular will give you a blander flavor for it. Either one, I'm going to say if you want barbecue with it, barbecue sauce, do smoked. But I have both in my pantry, and they're in the exact same thing, except one says smoked and is slightly darker in color. But tis when I grab, and then I'm going to do a little bit of Lowry seasoning salt. I'm going to do about a half a tablespoon of Lowry's because I'm going to do a half a tablespoon of garlic. I'm going to do like a hybrid here, guys. I know normally I don't, I either stick with one or the other, but I'm kind of wanting both today. I'm changing up my spices a little bit on this one. And call me a little bit crazy here. I'm going to throw in a little bit of ranch seasoning because, again, I'm just playing it crazy on this. And it'll be about a half a tablespoon of that. We're going to mix all of that up because it's going to make it delicious. And this is the fun thing about when you're making like seasonings for fried food is you can change those spices up in so many different ways to add great flavor to your food. So if you wanted to have a little bit of heat, add in some Cajun spices, red pepper, and that would be delicious. If you want to go play heavily on the Italian seasoning, take out the Lowry seasoning salt, add more Italian spices, add in some basil, add in some Parmesan cheese, and you've got kind of a stronger play up on that. So you can really change it up to make different like flavor profiles, but same concept. And then we'll add some panko breadcrumbs. We're gonna whip up our eggs right here. I like to use essentially 1 egg per chicken breast, especially when they're big chicken breasts, preferably without the shells. It's like when my kids are like, helping me in the kitchen and they're like, can I crack an egg? And I'm like, you can crack an egg in a small bowl to the side because when they crack eggs, it's like, I've never seen an egg crack into so many shells. And I do it too. Sometimes I crack an egg and I'm like, how did I crack that egg? And it completely obliterates. There. Let's see. I think I have a fork over here. Perfect. We're going to whisk these up, poke each yolk, and then just whisk them up until you have your yolks into your egg whites so that you don't have any long, stringy egg whites. So today, we went to TSC, which is Tractor Supply Company, to get Teddy his little like toy because they have those little things. And of course, in the spring they have their little chicks and their ducks. And I keep talking to my husband being like, I know our HOA says we can't have chickens, but I don't think they have a clause about no ducks. And I wouldn't mind a cute little duck or two, maybe I think it'd be okay. And I said we could do a little duck pond for them in our backyard. He told me that we already have enough animals, but I'm pretty sure it just says chickens. It does not say duck. And they are an entirely different species. And I feel like a duck you could have as a house pet too. Just saying.
Yeah, cats.
Yes, and I think the cats and the duck could be best friends. It's like Milo and Otis. They could be best friends. Best friends. Fox and the Hound, best friends. Okay, let me get my oil here. They were best friends until the mean old guy stepped in. I'm just saying, a very sad movie. Let's get our oil. We're not going to do it in there, but I'm going to pour it in here and we can have it getting close to warming up here. You don't need all, you just need enough to kind of have it halfway on there, knowing that when you put your chicken in, it will kind of increase up. Before I touch the chicken, I got 2 minutes. I can fillet these real quick. We're going to fillet each one of these chicken breasts in half, and that is going to give us 8 chicken breasts for our sandwiches. Now, when you're doing this, try to cut against the grain, which will give you a rougher cut, but it will give you a more tender piece. So you see how you've got all this kind of texture here? That's going to give you more tender chicken because you are cutting those tendons, which means there won't be as much tightness in your chicken, so more tender. Here. I said I need to go and get my HOA bylaws again and go through it. I swear they have it. It's like 90 pages because they really don't want you to find any of that information out. And I was talking to one of my neighbors and they're like, no, I'm pretty sure we can have chickens. I know somebody up the street has chickens. And I'm like, oh, they do they? And I'm like, I'm all on board with this. I just said, I'm like, I just need to make it big so I can buy a farm just down the road. My husband's like, yeah, and then we can have goats. And I'm like, and pot-bellied pigs because I think they're cute. And I need like the cute animals, and then I need somebody to take care of them because that's a lot of work. I know. I said, my husband and I lived in Iowa, and we both know how much work a farm is. And it is a lot of work. There is no such thing as sleeping in on a farm. So I don't know if I really, truly want ducks if I gave up. Okay, let's go check on our brioche buns so then I can get onto this, see how much time they need. That way I can get our dredging going for it because look at this, perfect timing. About 11 seconds. Let's grab our little crocodilios. Or as Teddy would call it, Borealisuchus, which is an ancient crocodile. Okay, stimmer. Let's rotate these. I'm gonna give them a little bit of a tap. I think they're almost, you know what? I actually think they might be done now. Let's see. I'm gonna pull one up. You know what? I think they're good. We'll let them steam out. I'm gonna bring these up. We'll let them cook for a few more minutes and then I'll move them up to the air fryer setting. But these look good. Now, with hamburger buns, brioche buns, do not just grab them out of the oven and cut into them. Just like with sourdough bread, all bread needs to sit and steam off. If you try to cut into them right now, they'll just squish into them. But again, this is they're like our lovely kind of semi-sweet brioche buns made with milk, yeast, butter, sugar, flour, salt, and an egg. So simple. You knead them and then you shape them and then you do right this. You've got them a little kissing right there. These are our kissing buns. On there, Torrin will be like, oh, I need this, which means I need 2 pieces of chicken for it. But so delicious. You've got nice there and they'll be perfect for our chicken. They're actually nice and big and that's perfect because our chicken sandwiches are going to be big. So this will be wonderful. Because even though this chicken starts out small, it gets huge by the time you are starting to fry it. Okay, let's get these guys. I'm going to start turning up and heating up my oil. We're going to do our dredge. This is our first coat of our dredge. And then we're going to add our panko breadcrumbs. It is important when you do your dredging, do it with just one hand. That way you have a clean hand to work with because otherwise you're going to have to go wash your hands a whole bunch of times. I remember when I first started out, I was always taught use one hand for the wet ingredients and one hand for dry ingredients. Well, your hands are both dirty when you use one hand for wet and dry. So if the phone rings or whatnot, not that anybody has a landline anymore, but you know what I mean? Like then you can't do anything. keeping one hand, you're going to have one really dirty hand, but you can still move around and do stuff. And I feel like with cooking, especially when you're trying to get a meal out with everything done at one time, multitasking and being able to kind of tend to things is a really important step in like cooking. That way, because I think a lot of people think of cooking, they think about one different dish at a time, but you have to really think about when can I prep one thing during the resting times of other dishes on there. Okay, using my clean hand, we're going to add in our panko. I'm going to actually just use the rest of this. It's about a cup. So a cup of panko breadcrumbs. You can also use regular breadcrumbs. You can use crushed crackers. I've seen Rice Krispies, cornflakes, pretzels, potato chips. I've seen it all. No, not Oreos. I would not use Oreos. Disregard the cameraman. No. I've seen Cheez-Its and Goldfish done. So I've seen a lot of different things used to give you that crunch.
Captain Crunch.
Yeah, no, nothing with added sugar in there. Okay, we'll get this coated up. This is going to be a crazy one. This is going to be my husband's. I've already decided because it's kind of wonky. And yeah, he's kind of wonky.
I like these Doritos Cheetos.
You know what? Those would actually be delicious. I honestly should do it. The only problem is I really, really love both Doritos and Cheetos that I would have a really hard time not eating them on camera right now because those are one of those foods that I could sit down and eat a whole bag. And then I sit there and I realize I just ate a whole family size, not even the kids. Small, regular, no, family size. They're so good. So good. They're addicting. I don't know what they put in them, but they are so good. Okay, we're going to do our dredging here. Make sure you've got all that powderiness of the first dredge covered up with the egg because that's what binds it and makes it a nice little glue. And then we're going to coat it up on here. Oh, by the way, everyone, I just want you guys to know that I did win the family bracket for March Madness. 4th year in a row. I just wanted to put it out there. I am the 4th year in a row champ. I don't even watch basketball, but I have won it 4 years in a row because I'm just that good. I said I was going to order myself a sweatshirt this year with March Madness bracket champion on it. So I'm just, between my husband, my oldest son, and my father-in-law, I'm just so happy that I could be the champion yet again. Just had to bring that up there officially for everybody to know. I know. Just that good. On here. So we're going to dredge these up. Once I get enough, we're going to have our oil heating up. I should be able to drop our first round in here on it. Now, if you want a super crunchy, cutlet, then what you're going to want to do is cut out a lot of your dredge and do just a lot of that panko breadcrumb. I want you to get caught right there. The more of that crunch you add in there, the end crunchiness will be more. So if you wanted to, honestly, you could probably just crunch up Doritos and go straight from egg wash into Doritos, and it would be so delicious. I feel like I need to do that now. Sounds so delicious. Here we go. And coat this up. I'm checking my oil over here, making sure it's nice and hot. So when you're heating up your oil, heat it up on high, but once it gets hot and high, then when we fry our chicken, we're actually going to fry it over medium heat. You don't want to fry it over high heat because then it will burn and not cook the outside faster than it has a chance to cook the inside.
Can you go over the seasoning for the dredge?
Yes. So for this one, we actually did kind of a crazy seasoning on here today. We started out with our flour, then we added in about a tablespoon of onion powder, about a half a tablespoon of paprika, a teaspoon of black pepper, a half a tablespoon of Italian seasoning, a teaspoon of oregano, and then I did a half a tablespoon of Lowry seasoning salt. a half a tablespoon of garlic salt, and about a half a tablespoon of ranch seasoning. So we've got quite the collection on here. I'm going to take a little bit of this flour right here. I'm going to drop it in, see how we're going. Not quite yet. I think I'll be able to get all of these dredged up before I can go in there.
Judy sent you a gift.
Well, thank you, Judy. We appreciate that.
Made you a forest elf.
Ooh, I like that. I'm a fairy. See? That's what I always say when the Renaissance Festival, which is coming up in like a month, I really want our family to all go as little elves or spirit, you know what I mean? I feel like I could get the boys to dress up as like the little ones, at least as little knights this year. And I think I could get Evie to dress up as a princess. I don't think you know what? Lena did dress up. She did wear her cloak. I want all of us to go dressed up. I think it would be really cool. Do you think you could prize your Peter Pan costume again? Many years ago. Here we go. Let's coat this up. And we got our last one. And then I think we should be just around being hot enough here. This is always the most boring part. Let's see. We'll take a little bit. See? Oh, just about beautiful. So once you drop a piece of like flour or little dripping and it starts to sizzle like that, that means you are ready for it to start cooking. So I'm going to put our chicken cutlets in. And then, since these are pretty big, I think I'm only going to be able to get 3 at a time. And then I'm going to turn my heat down to about a 5 because, again, I don't want it to over like cook. So you want it to stay nice and golden. And then I'm going to wash my hands up. And then we can start on our cookies. Okay. And then a few minutes, we'll turn the air fryer setting on our oven for that. Get that up there. Okay, and I'll bring this cutting board back down here for our salad in just a second. Rotate that, and we can get some of our cookies going. Now we're gonna make our classic chocolate chip cookies, which are, these are probably my favorite cookies. They're my kids' favorite to eat the cookie dough. They love it. And the thing about these cookies is you don't want to bake them up right away because letting the dough chill for a minimum of 30 minutes, but I typically make them and then I bake them up a couple hours later, makes them just perfect. It gives you that perfect chewy cookie, not dried out, not crispy, but just that perfect chewiness to it. So we're going to take 2 sticks of butter. So 1 whole cup of butter. And you want room temperature because you want them to cream nicely. And put it in our stand mixer over here. Making sure I get off all of the butter. Sometimes it likes to cling to the wrappers here. And then we're going to add in equal parts sugar and brown sugar. So we need 3/4 of a cup of sugar and 3/4 of a cup of brown sugar.
You have a question? Do you guys ever just do pizza?
Yeah, we did pizza last night. That is one of Teddy's favorite food, and we let him pick dinner last night. So we had pizza for dinner last night because, it was just he needed lots of snuggles and cuddles and love last night recovering because, it's hard on the little guy. And I don't think he quite understood when I said like what we were doing, the process for it. So yes, we do. I always say a couple nights, I will not say about one night a week, not one, yeah, we're on one night a week. That's 1/4 of a cup. We'll use this one. We go and we do like, takeout or fast food or have something delivered or, restaurant. It just, we have a pretty busy things. A lot of times when we're out of town, then we eat out a lot. But I do try to cook most of our meals because I'm like a firm believer in home cooked meals are better for you. We need 3/4 of a cup of brown sugar. I'm going to try not to break this one. Again, I like these rounded ones a little bit better with brown sugar versus my more square ones. And then you want it firmly packed. Get all that extra brown sugar in there. And now we're going to cream these two together. And while those are creaming, we can go check out our potatoes and then turn that air fryer up. I'll probably give them a rotation so they crisp up nicely all the way around while that is creaming. So look at them, beautiful. I'm gonna give them a rotation. And now they should be nice and tender. I'm gonna turn from the bake. I'm gonna go to my air fryer setting at 425, and then I'm gonna set this timer for about 10 minutes, and then those should be perfect, crispy, and delicious. Okay. Beautiful. We've got that almost creamed up on here. I'm gonna rotate this, give this one a little bit more on here. I'll know right when our edges start to get a little bit more golden when we're ready to flip them here. And we'll start on our ranch dressing here in just a second and our salad on there for it. And then a little bit, I'll get some paper towels and a thing to get those out. Okay, we'll add our eggs and stuff in there, but let's get our ranch dressing going so that it can sit, because I like to make a homemade ranch and let it sit for a little bit to thicken up. And grab a spoon here. So we've got kind of 3/4 cups of, this is a mixture of half and half, or of like cream and milk to make like a half and half. And then we're going to squeeze in some fresh lemon juice. You only need about half a lemon. This was not the lemon. It was not the lemon. My mom brought over her special singular one Meyer lemon that she grew herself. And I haven't decided what I'm going to make with it, because it's like, what do I make with one singular lemon for it? I'm going to let that sit for a second, but I popped it here. I'll get the lemon out. I had to hide it from Jack because he pulled the chair all the way over. But my mom, she's very proud of it. She grew this one lemon, her tree, that she didn't even know she had. It was in her garage. I don't know how you lose a lemon tree, but she lost it. But she grew this lemon on there and she brought it over. She's like, you do all the cooking. And I'm like, I do all the cooking. How many lemon tarts did that make? This, you know what? This could probably make like 10 or 15 lemon tarts. I could probably make a good amount of curd for it. And it's exceptionally juicy. I mean, I saw this lemon has been, I think it was the same lemon that was on it last year when she left it in her, I actually think she asked us to carry the tree down to her garage last year. I'm just saying. I vaguely remember us carrying a lemon tree down to the garage last year, so on there. So I have to figure out what to do, but Jack thought it was a ball and he had it, and I feel like there's a little tooth mark in it, so could just, been where my mom picked it. We're going to add in kind of equal parts mayo to our kind of homemade buttermilk mixture. That should be good. Then we're going to add in some ranch seasoning, but I'm going to put my lid on so I don't make it go everywhere. We need about 2 tablespoons or so. And then we'll give this a good mix up. And then we'll let it thicken up. And I'm just making sure I mix it all the way through. looking good. Look at that. So delicious. I love just like, and this isn't, I mean, I will say this is like halfway to a homemade ranch. You know, you can make your own where you make all of like the fresh herbs and stuff like that. And that is delicious. But even doing this part is so good over like a store-bought ranch.
Have you ever measured to see how close your eyeball measurements are?
You know, I have not really. I will do sometimes when my husband points out, I get out and the things and I'd be like, this is actually this much. And he was like, oh, you're right on things. So I actually should feel like I should do like a little short because people think that certain amounts of measurements are actually a lot less than they are. But when you scoop it out and then when you dump it and you see how much it spreads out, it's the same concept of when you look at an ounce, it looks tiny, but when it's spread out on the floor, it looks like a huge mess. And so a lot of things can be deceptive. And so in my early years of cooking, I used to do a lot of strict measure by measure. And through time, you just kind of learn to do it and then you kind of visually see it. So I also say, I feel like, you always think that you put in more than you actually did, but it's actually going to be, when you measure it out, it's actually going to be pretty close. Maybe not on the salt aspect because I do like my food really salty here. I've toned it down in the years. I used to, when I was younger, and I used to make everything to my saltiness, it was always too salty for everybody else. So I now learned to make my food half as salty as how I would want it, and it seems to be perfect for everybody else. And then I add more salt later. We added in 2 eggs, and then we're going to add in a teaspoon of baking soda. Let's get these. Get this mixed in there. Okay. Got a teaspoon of baking soda and then a teaspoon of salt and then a tablespoon of vanilla. And this is where you're going to get that, makes it just so good. It's a lot more vanilla than most recipes have, but it makes a big difference. It makes these cookies so amazing. Now we're going to cream that salt and vanilla in there. Just until it's mixed. And we can let that sit here. I'm going to grab a baking sheet out so that I can put these guys on it. Chocolate chip cookies. These are one of my favorite ones that I make, but my chocolate chip cookies, the thing is they need to sit and chill for about 30 minutes to a couple hours before you make them. They're actually great. Sometimes, I'll even make the dough up the next day because you want to bake them when they're chilled and cold because it will give you that perfect chewy cookie. If you bake them up now, they spread out too much and they're crispy instead of chewy. So they're just much better when they've had a chance to cool, and it allows those flavors to sit and meld together better. Let's see. Looking good. I'm going to rotate my pan just a little bit.
You got a request to go over your ranch dressing?
Yes. I'm going to be over there 1 second. Okay. So I'm going to give it a good mix now. So for our ranch dressing, what I start off with is 3/4 of a cup. Half of it is cream, half of it is milk. So it's essentially half and half, or you could use half and half. Then I squeeze half a juice from a lemon over it. And then I add in about the same equal amount of mayo for that. Mix all of that up to make our base for our dressing. And then I add in about 2 tablespoons of our ranch powder mix to it. And then you stir it up, and then you have just the most delicious, perfect semi-homemade ranch dressing. It's pretty simple, pretty easy, pretty delicious. Okay. And let's check these guys out. Perfect, golden, lovely. Now, when you're doing this, make sure you put your chicken hot oil side down. This is going to allow it to soak up that extra oil and leave your chicken extra crispy and not soggy. Let's see if I can move these guys over. Now, if you don't want to do it on paper towels, you can also do it on like a cookie cooling rack. I just find paper towels work really, really nicely, because then afterwards, when I need to clean up the extra oil in the pan, I use those greasy paper towels to clean it up.
You have a question. How do you know when the chicken is done?
So I fillet them thin enough so that by the time they're golden on each side, they should have had plenty of time to cook through. You can also kind of tell with the firmness of them and how when you pick them up and hold them, they're not flopping or anything when you pick them up. Let's see if I can grab it here. But they're not flopping too much as well. It's just one of those things that I've done it for so long that I know it's cooked through, and just the amount of time it's had to sit to be golden. Now, the true key of this is making sure that you do not cook it on high heat. You heat your oil up high. These are beautiful. Look at these, gorgeous. So here are our crispy fries. Look at these, gorgeous, beautiful, which is perfect because we're about ready for our first round of food. Now these need to sit and cool for a few minutes before you grab them because they are bubbling hot. But with your oil, you want to make sure that you heat it up on high, but when you pop your chicken in, you then turn it down to a medium so that you don't burn your chicken. And that medium will allow it to cook a little bit slower, but it'll give you a golden temperature, golden fry on it. Okay. Let's, while those are cooling so that we can eat them here, let's finish off our cookies, and then we can get our salad prepped and serve up, because probably not going to keep you for all 3 rounds of chicken frying. That way my kids can come in and eat. We are going to add in 2 1/4 cups of flour. I always find it funny that like every cookie recipe is always like 2 1/4 cups. That's just how it always is. There we go. Just making sure there's no pockets. Two and 1/4 cups. We're going to cream that flour in. I'll grab a spatula to kind of push down on the dough here in just a second. But we'll let it mix for a second on there as it's mixing in to kind of bring its base. And then I'm going to push down. And then we'll let that cream. And while we're doing that, let's throw together our salad.
Judy sent you again.
Oh, thank you, Judy. For our salad, we've got a couple different lettuces that we're going to use. I've got some Crunch House because my kids really like the nice crunchy greens. And then my personal favorite is the butter lettuce. But I'm going to shred some of this up so that it's not as big. There we go. So we've got that. Let's get our cucumbers in there. So we're going to do a nice garden salad because, you know, with the ranch dressing and everything. But let's look over here. Let's check this guy out. Push everything down. Beautiful. Make sure there's no pockets of butter anywhere. And then you're going to add in 2 cups of chocolate chips or 1 standard size bag of chocolate chips. Now I have like the mega bag today, so I'm not going to add in the whole mega giant bag, but I'll add in a good portion of it. Let me give this pan a rotation real quick. So this is like 24 ounces, but the regular bag is about 1 pound, so this is a little bit, it's like 1.5 Z's. Grab my scissors. But technically 2 cups. A regular bag I always feel like has a little bit more than 2 cups, but I always just use a standard bag. So we'll save a little bit, and our chocolate chips are going to go in. Just air on the side of making sure I have enough in there. And we'll mix these guys in. And then I always do a final mixture with my spoon, especially because you always have some little pockets that, you know, might not get a chocolate chip cookie, or you mix a little patch of butter. Yay. Release the Kraken. There we go. I'm going to set this aside so that my children can have World War III over who gets to lick this one. So be waiting. I'm going to say Teddy earns it. Okay, let's see if this chicken needs flipping. A little bit longer on that one. That one looks beautiful. And that one looks good. Let's just turn that one in a little bit more.
Yeah, do you ever do game night on weekends?
Yes, we have kind of different types of game night. Sometimes we do game night where it is like we do it on the Switch. And then sometimes we do board game night, or like a murder mystery dinner like game night. So yeah, we have like lots of different types. I love game nights. I love playing games with very, very competitive on there. But yes, we love to do it. We have like a Mario Party one where we play, which is kind of like a board game on there. Okay, here is our beautiful, delicious chocolate chip cookie dough. Now, with this, you're going to chill it, and then you'll bake it later at 375. And I want to say it's about 9 minutes per cookie on there. And they are so, so delicious. Now, I'm going to chill it, but before I chill it, you know what? My kids are going to all go in, and they're going to each grab a sandwich and like a little chunk of cookie dough because they love cookie dough. I love cookie dough. There's actually, it's so funny. My mom has this picture in her laundry room, which is of me and 2 of my siblings. I was the youngest, but it was the 3 little ones we always called. And we're all sitting around her really old, like the old school KitchenAid there. And we're all licking a batter of something she made around it in there. And I was like, my love of baking probably started back then as well. Got my baby cucumbers. Let's get this guy flipped because I gave him a little bit longer to cook on that side. Beautiful. And then, gorgeous. And then we're going to get our tomato sliced up here to add to our thing. And then we should be about ready to serve up our dinner, at least our first round. There we go. Okay. I'm gonna grab this. We're done with this guy.
You have a question. What did you say about chilling the cookie dough?
So I put it in the fridge. I'll cover it, put it in the fridge, and then I'll let it chill for a minimum of 30 minutes. But I like to do it for about 2 hours. And then what happens is in about 2 hours, your dough will be like rock hard. You actually let it cool for just a few minutes until you're able to scoop it and then roll it into balls. And then you shape it up and then you bake it for about 9 minutes at 375. And they will give you the best chewy cookies. You'll take them out and you're going to be like, gosh, I feel like they need to bake a little bit longer. Nope, they do not need to bake any longer. They sit on your baking sheet for about 5 minutes and they are going to be the best chocolate chip cookies ever. They're one of our favorites. They're actually going to be in our cookbook. And they're so good. The extra vanilla, the chill time, just make these cookies just so good. You grab a spatula here so I can get my, still a little hot. Slide these guys underneath. See, this is what I'm talking about. This is that crispy, look at that. That's what I'm talking about. You cook them on the metal pan so you get this crispy, battered side. So good. And yes, it's a little bit of extra work than doing them on parchment paper, but parchment paper is not going to give you these delicious crispy fries. And that's why I said they're amazing. Okay, let me grab a lovely brioche bun here. Let's see. Which one do I want?
Where can they find the recipes for these?
So we will post our live to the link on our page so everybody can always rewatch and cook along with us for everything on there. Some of these recipes will be in our cookbook. I have fried chicken in our cookbook, and I have my chocolate chip cookie dough coming in our cookbook, which we'll have out soon. Not yet, but we'll have it out soon. And on there. But again, we do make all of our lives available for everybody. Let me see if these guys, I think this round is just about ready to take off. So before I think I'll take this off and put our next round in. Beautiful. Look at these. Gorgeous. So again, put your hot oil side down. That way it can seep off that extra oil here. Put this over here, and then I'll put these last two in, which is this is going to be a really big fried chicken sandwich, whoever's eating that one. I have a feeling Torrin's going to claim it. I can grab this out of the way now. Okay. Well, that's easier now. Okay, let me get tongs for the salad. And then, did I get a bread knife? I did. Excellent. Okay, guys, I think we are ready to serve up. Oh, I'll get my cookie dough over here. That way we can show that as well. Okay. For dinner today, we have our homemade brioche buns. So we're going to cut into them. When you bake these up, you do need to let them cool for a few minutes before you cut into them. But look at that. So soft, so wonderful. We're going to place our hand-breaded fried chicken. We season these with Lowry seasoning salt, garlic salt, ranch seasoning, Italian seasoning, black pepper, so many different things on there. Place a little bit of lettuce on there and a little dollop of our homemade ranch, because you know what? Fried chicken and ranch sandwich sounds like heaven on earth to me. And then we're going to serve these up with our homemade steak fries. We crisp these up in the oven. We season them with Lowry seasoning salt, onion powder, and then made a lovely batter using oil and flour. And then we're going to serve this up with our garden salad, where we have our lovely butter crisp lettuce, put a couple tomatoes on there. And then, of course, we have our homemade ranch dressing, which is so delicious on there. So good. And then, of course, later tonight, we're going to bake up our chocolate chip cookies, but they need to chill for a little bit because that makes you the best chewy cookie ever. Well, guys, Thank you so much for joining us here. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I try to do live cooking shows every single day, kind of show you what we're making for our family and hopefully teach you guys something along the way. Again, we do upload all of our videos to the link on our page. So if you ever want to recreate any of these recipes at home, you can just go to our page and search for what we made. Our fried chicken sandwiches, our home fries, and our ranch dressing. And you can always watch and cook along with us again. We also have a link to our Amazon storefront that has all of our different cooking gear and gadgets in it. I've got my stand mixer, my bakeware, knives, cutting boards, all the different things that I use in the kitchen I have in there for you guys to check out. But again, thank you so much for joining us here. Don't forget to like and subscribe.